There's an old story told by people of reflection about a man who was walking through the desert at night. No one around him, no light except the sky, no sound except the wind, and suddenly his camel slipped. Everything he owned, food, water, supplies, fell into the sand. Some of it broke, some of it scattered, some of it was lost completely. He dropped to his knees, and in that moment he said, "Ya Allah, why now?" Because in the desert, losing even a little feels like losing everything. So he sat there, frustrated, confused, almost angry. But he had no choice. He gathered what he could and kept walking, slower now, weaker now, more careful with every step. Hours passed. Then something unexpected happened. As the sun began to rise, he realized he had unknowingly changed direction. The path he was originally on led straight into a dangerous valley known for robbers. But the delay, the fall, the loss, slowed him down just enough to miss that path completely. He stood there in silence, because what felt like a setback was actually protection. What felt like loss was actually redirection. And maybe that's exactly what's happening to you. Something slipped, something broke, something you depended on is no longer there. And you're sitting there asking, "Ya Allah, why this?" Because it doesn't feel like guidance. It feels like things are falling apart. But what if you were about to walk into something that would have broken you? What if the very thing you lost is the reason you are being saved? Because Allah doesn't always guide you by showing you the full path. Sometimes He guides you by removing what would have taken you somewhere you were never meant to be. So before you call it loss, look again. Because sometimes the moment you think everything is slipping away is the exact moment Allah is quietly saving you. What you're losing is not random. Allah is stripping what can't rise with you. It didn't shatter in a single moment. It faded, quietly. Something you cared about, gone. Something you relied on, removed. Something you thought you needed, no longer there. And you felt it. That sudden emptiness, that weight in your chest, that silence where something used to be. And your mind keeps circling back to the same question. Why is this happening to me? Because it doesn't look like elevation. It feels like something is being taken from you. But pause for a moment. Not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Some things are removed because they cannot survive where you are being taken. You were holding on to things that felt necessary. People, habits, attachments, things that gave you comfort, but slowly weakened your direction. And you didn't notice it, because comfort can hide damage. So Allah, in His mercy, begins to separate you from what you couldn't leave on your own. Not all at once, because that would break you, but piece by piece, enough to wake you up without destroying you. And that's why it hurts. Because your heart was attached. You invested emotions, you built routines, you created a sense of identity around those things. So when they leave, it feels like a part of you is being pulled away. But what's really happening is that a weaker version of you is being peeled off. The version that depended too much on creation instead of the Creator. The version that settled when you were meant to rise. So this pain you feel, it's not random, it's precise, it's measured, it's intentional. Because Allah is not just removing things from your life. He is removing anything that would stop you from becoming who you're meant to be. And that process always begins with letting go of what you thought you couldn't live without. This heaviness you feel is your heart being purified, not broken. There are nights when everything feels heavier than it should. Nothing dramatic happened. No big event, no clear reason. But inside, something feels off. Small things drain you. Conversations feel forced. Even silence feels uncomfortable. And you sit there, wondering, why do I feel like this? Because this doesn't feel like strength. It feels like something inside you is struggling. But look deeper. This heaviness is not weakness. It's exposure. Your heart is no longer numbed the way it used to be. Before, you could carry certain habits without thinking. You could sit in certain environments without feeling anything. You could ignore certain feelings and keep moving. But now, you can't. Now everything reaches you. Everything affects you. And that's because your heart is waking up. Allah is removing the layers that kept your heart distracted, layer by layer. The things that once entertained you now exhaust you. The things that once felt normal now feel uncomfortable. The things that once filled your time now feel empty. And that shift feels heavy because your heart is no longer designed for that version of life. So when you go back to it, it doesn't sit right anymore. And instead of understanding that, you think something is wrong with you. But nothing is wrong. Something is being corrected. Purification is not a peaceful process at the beginning. It's a pressure, because everything that doesn't belong inside you starts to surface. Regrets you ignored, habits you justified, attachments you never questioned. All of it rises, not to break you, but to be removed. And removal is uncomfortable, because you have to feel it before you can release it. So you feel heavier than usual, more sensitive than usual, more aware than usual, and it confuses you, because you're not used to feeling this much. But this is what a living heart feels like, a heart that is no longer asleep, a heart that is no longer satisfied with distractions, a heart that is being prepared for something higher. So don't run from this heaviness. Don't try to escape it with noise, or distractions, or denial. Sit with it, understand it, because this is not your heart breaking. This is your heart being cleaned after carrying too much for too long. And once that weight is removed, you won't just feel lighter, you'll feel clearer, closer, stronger in a way that doesn't depend on anything outside of you. Because a purified heart doesn't just survive, it sees. And once you see clearly, you can never go back to the way you were before. People are not just leaving. Allah is quietly removing what would hold you back. It didn't end with a fight. There was no clear moment where everything broke. It just faded. Someone who used to check on you stopped. Conversations that once felt alive became dry. People you thought were permanent slowly disappeared, and you noticed, you felt the shift. That quiet distance that keeps growing without explanation, and your mind tries to make sense of it. Did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? Why does this keep happening? Because it doesn't feel like protection. It feels like rejection. But pause for a moment. Not every distance is a loss. Some distances are designed because Allah knows where you are being taken, and not everyone can go there with you. Some people were connected to a version of you that no longer exists, the version that tolerated things you've outgrown, the version that stayed silent when you should have spoken, the version that settled when you were meant to rise. If they stayed, they would keep you tied to that version. So Allah creates separation, not always through conflict, sometimes through silence, through reduced connection, through changed energy, through a feeling that something is no longer the same, and it hurts. Because you remember what it used to be. You remember the comfort, the familiarity, the sense of belonging. So your heart tries to hold on, even when everything is already slipping away. But understand this clearly: you are not being abandoned. You are being repositioned, because where you're going requires clarity. And some connections bring confusion. Some people bring distraction. Some relationships keep you emotionally dependent in ways that weaken you. So Allah removes them, not because they were always bad, but because they are no longer right for your next level. And yes, it feels lonely, because elevation often comes with isolation first. A space where you no longer fit in your old world, but haven't fully stepped into your new one yet. And that space is uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because in that space, you start to rely less on people and more on Allah. And that shift changes everything. So don't chase what is leaving. Don't beg for what is already being removed, because sometimes what you're trying to hold on to is exactly what is holding you back. Nothing excites you anymore, because your soul has outgrown distractions. You try to go back to what used to make you feel something, the same routines, the same habits, the same distractions, but it doesn't work anymore. You scroll, but it feels empty. You watch, but you lose interest. You engage, but your heart isn't there. And that feeling, it unsettles you, because you start thinking, why can't I enjoy anything like before? What happened to me? Because this doesn't feel like growth. It feels like you've lost something. But look deeper. You haven't lost your ability to feel. You've lost interest in what no longer feeds your soul. There's a difference. Your heart has shifted. It has tasted something deeper, a different kind of awareness, a different kind of connection, a different kind of peace, even if you don't fully understand it yet. And once your heart moves in that direction, the old things stop working, not because they're completely wrong, but because they are no longer enough. They were temporary fillers, and now your soul is searching for something real, something lasting, something that doesn't disappear the moment you stop engaging with it. And that search creates a strange emptiness at first, because what used to fill your time no longer fills your heart. So you feel bored, disconnected, uninterested. But this is not boredom. This is transition, from distraction to meaning, from surface-level comfort to deeper fulfillment, from noise to something quiet but real. And that transition is uncomfortable, because your heart is being retrained to seek something higher, something cleaner, something closer to Allah. So, don't force yourself back into what no longer satisfies you. Don't panic because you feel different, because this difference is the beginning of clarity. Your soul is not empty. It's making space for something that actually fulfills you. But before that comes in, everything that used to fake that feeling has to lose its effect on you first. People are not just leaving. Allah is quietly removing what would hold you back. It didn't collapse in one moment. It thinned out. Quietly, replies became shorter. Plans stopped happening. Someone who once felt close now feels distant. And you felt that shift, that quiet confusion, because there was no clear reason, no argument, no ending, just space growing between you. And your heart keeps asking, what changed? Why am I being left behind? Because it doesn't feel like protection. It feels like loss. But look deeper. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Some people are part of your comfort, not your calling. They were there when you needed familiarity, but they are not meant for where you are being taken, because growth requires a different environment, a different mindset, a different level of awareness. And not everyone around you is aligned with that. So Allah creates distance, Not always through pain, sometimes through subtle shifts. You feel less understood, less connected, less interested in the same conversations, and slowly, the bond weakens, not because you failed, but because you are changing, and if they stayed exactly as they were, they would keep you exactly where you were. So Allah removes them, not as punishment, but as positioning, because some relationships hold you emotionally in a place you're meant to leave. They keep you explaining yourself, seeking approval, compromising your growth just to maintain connection, and you don't realize it until that connection starts to fade. Then it hurts, because you remember the closeness, the laughter, the history, the version of yourself that existed with them. So you try to hold on, you replay conversations, you overthink messages, you try to fix something that is already being undone. But understand this clearly, you cannot hold on to something Allah is gently removing, because what He removes is already out of alignment with who you are becoming. And yes, this phase feels lonely, because you are in between, no longer connected to your past, but not fully surrounded by your future yet. And that space feels empty, but that emptiness is not a void. It's a reset, a space where your heart is no longer influenced by everything around it, a space where you begin to hear yourself again, where you begin to rely less on people and more on Allah. So don't chase what is leaving. Don't lower yourself to keep what no longer fits your path, because some goodbyes are not endings, they are redirections. And one day, you'll realize that what left your life was the exact reason you were not moving forward before. Nothing excites you anymore, because your soul has outgrown distractions. There's a moment where you realize something feels different. You try to go back to your usual routine, the things you used to enjoy, the habits that once filled your time, but it doesn't land the same. You scroll and feel nothing. You watch and lose interest halfway. You engage, but your heart isn't present, and that feeling starts to bother you, because you think, why am I like this now? Why can't I enjoy anything anymore? Because it doesn't feel like growth. It feels like you've lost your spark. But look closer. You didn't lose your spark. You outgrew what used to fake it. There's a difference. Before, those things distracted you. They filled your time. They gave you temporary relief. They made you feel something, even if it didn't last. But now, your heart is more aware, and awareness changes everything. Because once you start seeing clearly, you can't fully enjoy what once kept you blind. So the same distractions don't work anymore. Not because they're completely wrong, but because they're no longer enough for who you are becoming. Your soul is shifting. It's searching for something deeper, something that doesn't disappear after a few minutes, something that doesn't leave you empty when it's over. And that search creates discomfort, because what used to fill you is gone, but what will truly fulfill you hasn't fully settled in yet. So you feel stuck in between, disconnected from what you used to enjoy, but not fully connected to what your soul actually needs. And that space feels empty, but it's not emptiness. It's space being created, space for something real, space for a deeper connection with Allah. Because once your heart starts leaning toward Him, everything else starts to feel temporary, small, incomplete. So don't panic. Don't try to force yourself back into your old patterns just to feel something, because that feeling won't last anymore. You've moved past that stage. This is not boredom. This is elevation in desire. Your heart is being trained to seek what actually satisfies it, not what distracts it. And that training takes time. It feels slow. It feels uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because once your heart fully aligns with what it was created for, you won't need constant distraction to feel okay. You'll find a different kind of peace. A quieter one, a deeper one, the kind that doesn't depend on anything temporary. And that's when you'll understand. You didn't lose your ability to enjoy life. You were being guided toward what truly fulfills it. You don't recognize yourself. Allah is rewriting who you are. There's a moment you don't talk about. You look at your life, and something feels unfamiliar. Not just around you, inside you. Your reactions have changed. Your priorities feel different. Even your thoughts don't sound like they used to. And it unsettles you, because you start asking, who am I becoming? Why don't I feel like myself anymore? Because this doesn't feel like clarity. It feels like confusion, like you've lost your identity somewhere along the way. But what if that's exactly what is happening? Not the loss of who you are, but the loss of who you were never meant to remain. This is the in-between, the space where the old version of you is being undone, before the new version is fully formed. And that space feels unstable, because your old habits don't fit anymore. Your old desires don't satisfy you anymore. Your old identity doesn't represent you anymore. So you feel disconnected, not fully who you were, not yet who you are becoming. And that creates anxiety, because you want something to hold on to, something familiar, something that feels certain. But Allah is teaching you something deeper. Your identity was never meant to be built on temporary things, not on people, not on comfort, not on routines that change with time. He is rebuilding you from the inside. Your intentions, your focus, your relationship with Him. And before something new can be written clearly, what was there before has to be erased completely. And erasing is uncomfortable, because it feels like you're losing yourself. But you're not. You're being refined, stripped of what was surface level, so something real can take its place. And this process cannot be rushed, because deep change takes time. So don't panic in this phase. Don't rush back to your old self just to feel stable again, because that stability was temporary. This unfamiliar version of you is closer to your true direction. Even if you don't fully understand it yet, one day you'll look back and realize this confusion was actually clarity being built in silence. You're becoming silent because your heart no longer seeks validation. You've noticed it in yourself. You don't react like before. You don't argue over small things. You don't explain every decision. You don't feel the need to prove your point in every conversation. Instead, you choose silence. And people don't always understand that. They think you've changed in a negative way. They think you've become distant, or cold, or uninterested. But what they don't see is you've become more aware. Because not every situation deserves your response. Not every misunderstanding deserves your explanation. Not every opinion deserves your attention. And that awareness changes how you move. Before, you felt the need to be understood. You wanted people to see your intentions, to validate your choices, to agree with your perspective. So you spoke more, you explained more, you reacted more. But now, something inside you has shifted. You've realized that constant explanation doesn't always bring clarity. Sometimes it drains you. Sometimes it pulls you into arguments that don't benefit you. Sometimes it keeps you emotionally tied to things you've already outgrown. So you step back, not out of weakness, but out of control. Because silence is not emptiness, it's discipline. It's choosing where your energy goes. It's protecting your peace instead of proving your point. And this shift, it comes from a deeper connection with Allah. Because when your heart becomes anchored in Him, you stop seeking constant approval from people. You stop chasing validation. You stop measuring your worth based on how others see you. And that changes everything. You become less reactive, less influenced, less controlled by external noise, and more focused, more grounded, more intentional. Yes, it can feel isolating, because fewer people understand you, fewer people relate to you the same way. But that's part of growth. Not everyone will understand your silence, because not everyone understands your transformation. But you don't need everyone to understand. You just need to stay aligned with where you are being guided. Because this silence is not distance, it's elevation, a quiet strength that doesn't need to announce itself, a calm presence that doesn't need to prove itself. And once you reach this level, you realize something powerful. You don't need to speak louder. When your heart is already connected to something higher, this doesn't look like elevation, but this is exactly how Allah raises you. If you look at your life right now, it might not impress anyone. Things feel slower, quieter, less exciting than before. You're not surrounded by the same people. You're not chasing the same things. You're not living the same way. And from the outside, it can look like you've lost momentum, like you've stepped back, like you're not where you're supposed to be. And even inside, you feel it, that quiet doubt. Am I actually moving forward, or am I just stuck? Because real elevation, the kind people show, looks different. It looks loud, fast, visible. More success, more attention, more recognition. But what you're going through doesn't look like that. It feels like subtraction, less noise, less distraction, less attachment. And that's exactly why you question it. But understand this clearly. Allah does not elevate you the way the world defines elevation. The world elevates your image. Allah elevates your heart. And those two paths look completely different, because before Allah gives you more, He prepares you to handle more. He removes what would corrupt you if you kept it. He weakens your attachment to what would distract you. He teaches you how to stand without relying on everything around you. And that preparation phase, it feels slow. It feels empty. It feels like nothing is happening. But in reality, everything is changing. You are becoming more aware, more disciplined, more selective about what you allow into your life. You notice things you never noticed before. You feel things more deeply. You think differently, react differently, move differently. That is elevation, not the kind that gets attention, the kind that builds you from within. Because if Allah gave you what you wanted before you were ready, it wouldn't elevate you. It would expose you. It would amplify your weaknesses instead of your strength. So He slows things down. He creates distance. He allows silence, not to hold you back, but to strengthen you in a way that lasts. And that's why this phase feels hidden, because it is. It's not meant for display. It's meant for development, a private transformation between you and Allah, where no one sees the struggle, no one sees the restraint, no one sees the internal shift. But one day, the results will be visible, not just in what you have, but in who you've become, a person who is not easily shaken, not easily distracted, not easily controlled by temporary things. And that kind of strength cannot be built in comfort. It is built in silence, in confusion, in moments where you don't fully understand what Allah is doing, but you choose to trust Him anyway. So if it doesn't feel like you're rising, don't rush to judge the process, because elevation with Allah often feels like reduction first. Less of everything that doesn't matter, until only what truly matters remains. And when that process is complete, you won't just have more, you will be more. More grounded, more clear, more connected to Allah than you've ever been. And that's when you'll understand, Allah didn't delay your elevation. He protected it. He built it in a way that could never be taken away from you.